I have a video where we talk through three stages, right? It's 0 to 100K, 100K to $1 million, $1 million to 10 million. And we use that framing just to help people think and chunk this down into sections. But ultimately, I've never been a fan. I've worked with people that like to make follower count goals, view count goals, impression goals, and that's great. And I'm not saying there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but I just want people to be aware when you set that goal, you create deprivation. You're here and you want to be here. And we as humans, we want to close that gap as quickly as possible. And so we will behave accordingly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For all the business owners, it's like how you incentivize your employees influences how they behave. And if you give them the wrong incentive, they're going to do things right, but it's going to be wrong for you.
Yeah, and if you're creating a brand right now, and obviously we're talking about leveling up your number of followers, again, comes back to the basics. Let's think about the end goal, right? If the end goal, let's say for building your personal brand is revenue, right? Building that trust and delivering value through your content is going to equal revenue. And it may equal some followers. It may not equal millions of followers depending on your industry or who you serve. But if you focus on that, right, it's learning some cool shit, building some cool shit, and then eventually giving value in and around that, you'll get to your goal, your revenue goal, but you might not get to 1 million followers. You might not get to 100,000 followers depending on your niche. But again, structuring it where you know your goal, and I assume most people's goal, entrepreneurs that are building a personal brand, is revenue. It isn't follower count, even though some may think it is, but in a lot of times it is. And followers may come along with that, but that probably for some, or maybe for most people, shouldn't be your ultimate goal.
Yeah, I think for 99% of individuals, it's an ego thing. I think it is 100% an ego thing, and ego does not pay your bills.
But let me ask you this. Okay, let me push back on that. This is a brand new podcast, and by the time this goes live, we'll have some level of viewership. Let's see. Part of the reason I assume you were open to coming on this podcast was because I had some level of following. If I had 100 followers, no, not at all.
I've done podcasts that get less than 100 views.
Okay, what about the person that pushes back that says, to make the connections that I need to make, okay, I will be perceived differently if I have X amount of followers than if I don't. If I'm building a podcast, I'm reaching out to guests. If I reach out to, a specific guest, very high profile guest, one of the first things they may look at is, who is this person? Does he have a following? What has he done? And so to push back there is, in some cases, follower count might be beneficial over revenue.
Because you've articulated that a desired outcome that you have is to get access to guests that are only willing to go on podcasts of a certain following.
Again, perfect, right?
Exactly.
Comes back to your framework.
You nailed it.
For this specific, setup, if my goal is to get high profile guests onto this show, then follower count may be something I should optimize around.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
But for most businesses,
yes,
most entrepreneurs and businesses, it should be revenue.
Yes. But I would also argue it depends on what kind of podcast you're building. I have a buddy who his podcast, he's using it as a mechanism to raise for a fund. And so he doesn't need the masses, he needs the right people. And so again, it just comes down to, what are you really trying to accomplish, right? Like, I would ask you a deeper question. What's the goal of your podcast? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with doing the podcast? Is it lead flow for your business? Is it that you want to write a book, or you have a book coming out? Is it you want to speak more? Is it that you just want to be able to connect with these individuals and have them in your relationship sphere? Which is a totally great answer, by the way. That then influences what following, right? And depending on what your answer is, that gives you the ceiling of the following. Some answers are going to have a higher TAM than others.
What's a piece of maybe content advice that's popular right now that you think will look foolish in a few years?
Copying everybody else's shit. AI is going to do that really fucking well. You're not going to stand out in any way, shape, or form. If you don't get the habit and mechanics and understanding of how to show up as who you actually are, and telling stories and teaching frameworks and concepts based on what you have actually done, you're fucked.
For those who can't watch all of your content, What's the
There's a lot of it.
it's a lot of content.
There's a lot of hours.
Right?
Yeah.
What's the one piece of advice they should take from you at this stage?
At the 100K to a million,
Yeah.
run with the putting your audience, putting your customer first, starting with them in mind. That's the given. I actually think 100K to a million, you need to start thinking about team. It's gonna be very hard for you to do this on your own. There are people that do this, okay? So like everything that I'm sharing, there's obviously anomalies and exceptions to the rule, but you're gonna want to make sure that you actually have a team. Collectively, before I started, I already had 100,000 followers collectively, I think. Something, or very close to that across all platforms before Trevor and I started making content. And so what did I do? I hired Trevor. I need help to be able to scale this, right? And now we've brought on a long form editor and a part-time shorts editor, right? And so we're expanding the team. We have a copywriter. Like we're starting to add to that in order to scale to that next level. And so in this stage, it's about not figuring out how do I as the individual do more? For some people, sure. But the majority, it needs to be how do I bring in a team so that I can scale this thing? So that I can go from one primary platform to 3.
Guys, we've been so passionate about finding the biggest geniuses, and this is just one of the many episodes. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next one, make sure to subscribe. All right, let's get back to the episode. And what's the first person you think you should bring on? Is it someone for strategy?
What's your biggest constraint?
Got you. Okay.
So here's a piece of advice that I would give as far as filtering advice. If you hear anybody say, this is your first hire, they are wrong. Meaning there is no generic playbook or org chart that you should follow because you have different needs than Jill or Sarah, right? One of the best pieces of advice that Gary gave me when I actually went from Vayner to work at Constellation Brands is he said, if you ever go and build something like Team Gary, don't do what we did here. Don't just don't just build and replicate what we did, reverse engineer the strengths, weaknesses, and preferences of the individual that you build it around, right? Like Gary doesn't like do writing. Like he won't like write shit. And so like, if you work with somebody who does write, well, that fundamentally changed the whole workflow and the hiring process and the order and sequence in which we hire creatives, right? And so it's understanding what is your biggest bottleneck right now. If you have a million ideas and you have no problem filming all of those, but you have 10 videos in the backlog for editing, what are we gonna hire first? Probably an editor. Now, if you wanna go ultra advanced mode, do what I did. Hire a content director who is able to, who has the skill to do all of those things. They're gonna have like 1 or 2 that they're exceptionally proficient in, and then they're like gangster level at, and then they have the other areas where they are good. Okay. Anyone who says that they're the best at everything is fucking lying through their teeth. And so what you want to do is figure out if you're going to go the advanced mode, you hire a content director that their primary skill sets, the things that they are one of one on, are the things that you're currently missing. So it's either that you're hiring the individual contributor to solve the current constraint, but then the cost that you're incurring is you got to lead them, you got to manage all of that, or you can do what I did and hire a content director and they will build the team for you. That's the recommendation that I have if you are capable of doing that, but they are obviously more expensive.
Then where do you find a content director?
Oh my God, this is the hardest question on earth to solve that Trevor and I might be doing a whole podcast on this evening. The first thing I want to call out is this is a brand new role. This is new. Head of personal brand, media director, content director in this context is brand fucking new. YouTube is 20 years old. Like the joke that I like to say, and I will only be able to say it for a few more months, is like YouTube can't even drink in the US. It's brand fucking new. And so this is a very new role and not a lot of people occupy this. What you end up finding is a lot of people are either really good with the strategy side or the creative side. You rarely see the two married into one human. It happens, but when it happens, I find that it's typically built, not bought. And so you need to decide which one of these two am I good with training and with them developing and learning on the job. I'll invest in them learning and gaining those skills so that they can level that up. Now, where you find this person, oh man, it's tough. Here's what I tell people to do. And do this tastefully. Don't be a fucking weirdo about this. But I want people to list off 10 to 20 creators that make content in a way that they admire, that are 2 or 3 rungs up the ladder, not 10. So don't look at like if you're just starting off or you're, in the early days, don't look at like the top dog in your industry and be like, I'm going to go try and get their team. That's not going to happen. They're not going to want to work for you. And understandably so, you don't have a big enough opportunity for them yet. But if you go 2 or 3 rungs up the ladder and you look at these people that are making content in a way you admire, I would, in the least weird, creepy way possible, stalk them. I would be following them on Instagram and set a notification for any time they post a story, I'm looking at it. And I'm just waiting for the moment where they tag their team. And I'm not going for the number 1. I'm trying to find who the number 2 or the number 3 on the team is. And I'm just reaching out to see how things are going and if they have any interest in potentially having the opportunity to build something of their own. Why number 2 or number 3? 1, they don't have the bias of what they previously built. They have the beautiful vision of all the things, not all, but a lot of the things that went well and they should replicate, and a lot of things that did not go well and they should not replicate. And they also want the opportunity a lot of times to build something. This was me. I am describing how I was God. I wanted the opportunity to build something. I didn't build Team Gary. I joined Team Gary 3 or 4 years into its existence, right? Like podcasts sometimes, and I understand we got to get the clicks and you can't apply nuance and titles. They'll say like the man behind Gary Vee. I joined Team Gary 3 or 4 years into that shit, right? And so, yeah, I would say you want to find those people who want that opportunity and then give them the opportunity and autonomy to build. That's how you attract them. And what I just described is a very difficult process and it will take you a while.
Awesome. All right, we're going to level 5. This is 1 million to 10 million followers. Ivan, can you bring me the laptop?
Thank you.
All right, so 3 new channels, and I'm sure you might know some of these people. Okay, so let's say you had 100% control over these 3 channels. What would you change today and why? And for the audience there, we have Cody Sanchez, we have Mark Manson, and we have Sidemen.
I mean, Cody's a gangster. I'm not going to do too much here because 1, I'm just not a fan of doing this publicly. I'm not a big I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong. It's just not my style. What I will say is I would love to see Cody do a course on YouTube. I think that would be gangster. I'm a big advocate for a lot of people to do this.
Similar to what you did on your 6-hour course. And
and it doesn't need to be 6 hours. It could be 2 hours, right. 3 hours, whatever. Yeah.
And hers is on buying boring businesses or something that she's.
Yeah. It'd be gangster.
Right.
And with like a really savage workbook that is paired with it, I think that would be massive. I think it's something that more people should consider doing because on every channel that I'm seeing that's doing this right now, these are the videos that are producing the most growth for the YouTube channel and the most sales. And so it is incredibly impactful. So that's what I would love to see from Cody. I think she is killing it. Mark Manson, I think he is an incredibly thoughtful creator. I think for Mark, honestly, I would need to watch more of the videos to be able to give any of the feedback there. But I think Mark has an incredible brand. I think he does a great job. Sidemen, I'm not familiar with this channel at all. This appears to be in the entertainment space.
Yeah, I'm not familiar either.
So I honestly, again, I don't like to talk about things that I'm not an expert on. I don't understand the entertainment world hardly at all. I have very, very, very little experience in it. I deal mostly with educational content, which I kind of boil it down to, you make content, and if people watch that content and change what they do after they watch it, it was educational content. If they're watching the content to escape whatever is going on in their life right now, it was entertainment content. There's nothing wrong with escapism, by the way. It's still very valuable and useful for people. But yeah, I definitely deal more in education. But what I would say is actually, I'll just say the same thing for Mark. I would love to see Mark do a course. I would love to see, actually what would be super interesting, and I apologize if he's already done this and I just have missed it or something, but his book was extremely impactful for me, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. What if there was a course on how to not give a fuck? That would be very cool. And so I'd say actually for both of them, I would love to see that because I think the number one thing that a lot of people have in terms of skepticism around these bigger creators is okay, I see these 30-minute videos, these 45-minute videos. What level of depth is truly there? And I know a decent amount of these individuals, and I know that for some of them, there is an extreme level of depth that I don't believe they're actually showing in their content for whatever reason. And so I think that a course would be really cool.
Yeah, because you once said 99.9% of the courses, and correct me if I'm wrong, 99.9% of the courses out there on how to build your brand lack real principles.
Yes.
They're purely social media tactics that will no longer be relevant 6 to 12 months from now.
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
Well, at a high level, we have a lot of people right now that have been doing this game for the last 3, 4, maybe 5 years. And they've gotten a lot of success. And what has worked for them, they teach, but it's just a tactic that will fade. I believe a principle is something that works in 3 or more different scenarios and is timeless. And in a world where you just teach tactics, you're creating dependence. In a world where you teach principles, you're actually creating independence. My goal is not to fish for you. I want to teach you how to fish. Like the way that we try to work with our clients, and I'm sure this is a terrible business model, but my goal is that you don't have to work with us forever. I want to teach you what you do, and then I want you to run off and do it because I think that serves you the best. And it goes in line with my overall philosophy with personal brand. Serve them more than you serve yourself.
Who is the person that you would point to when you talk about an excellent personal brand at this scale, right? Over 1 million followers, and they're giving value.
I'm kind of drawing a blank right now, and I'll tell you why. I don't consume a lot of this kind of content. When I'm consuming content, it's like motorcycle content. it's like I'm trying to learn some very niche specific thing to solve a problem in my business. So, like, it's weird. I don't actually have like the biggest pulse on everything that's being made out there. And I think that's one of my superpowers that I've had is I try to do my best to not be influenced by what everybody else is doing. Back to what we've been talking about this whole time, doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing. So I feel like I have a horrible answer for you there, but I can't think of somebody specifically right now because I think a lot of the really big dogs, a lot of them, I believe, have actually over-optimized their content, and their audience that they originally built this for is no longer interested in this. And so it's gone away from the character and interest and value that it has, and it's now just an engine that is rinse and repeat.
Okay, last one. And what does it cost to grow a brand this big, right? When you're getting to 1 million followers, you mentioned a team. These people are putting real money behind growing these brands. It's not just like a guy in his basement that gets to 10 million followers by himself, right? Editor, strategy, there's a lot that goes into it. What's the cost look like?
A lot. I mean, I've been part of teams that were spending over $150,000 a month just on payroll. So it gets very, very expensive. I do believe as AI is evolving, it will get less expensive. Right now, I'm very anti, like, I replaced my team with AI. I'm like, yeah, and it shows. We know your content sucks. Like a lot of the people that are screaming that from the mountaintop, their content isn't good. And so I think right now we're still in this like weird in between where there's still that like old world of like, I need a team of like 5, 6, 7, 10 people. And this contrast of all these people saying, no, you can outsource it to AI. What I want to tell people is in the future, I'm sure it will get cheaper and you will be able to do more with AI. Right now, your AI content output is dog shit. It is.
But in the future, there's going to be AI strategist and AI editor,
100%.
AI everything.
Yeah. And I don't even know what that looks like. And honestly, I spend as little time as possible trying to think about that and more just once it starts happening, I want to react quickly. I want to be quick to react, but I don't want to waste my energy on wondering about the future on that. So I would say that what you can definitely expect, even at like my level, is about probably $20,000 a month.